Hey everyone!
Hey, we're back.
What's up? We're back again. I'm Dan.
And I'm Hits.
And welcome to recent record reviews where we talk about records, yeah?
Recent.
Yes! Anyway, so today we'll be talking about 3 albums that are actually not going to be out by the time we put out the episode.
Yes, they'll be out the week after, so we'll be previewing some records.
Yes.
So the first album that we'll be talking about is something that's been a long time coming from one of the godfathers of the drum and bass scene in Singapore named Kiat. He's finally ready to launch his LP after many delays. And
How long, huh?
I don't know. It was meant to be out earlier this year,
Yeah.
and this is actually his first LP since 2012's The Inner Galaxy. The single and music video will be out later this week on June 10th, but the actual album won't be out till June 17th, so keep that in mind. For those who are unfamiliar, as I mentioned, Kiat is the godfather of drum and bass in Singapore. He was at the forefront of the jungle scene since like way back in the 90s, you know, with his guerrilla crew. He even has a record on Goldie's Metal Hits label, so it's kind of a big deal. Most recently though, he's shifted his focus away from drum and bass onto like more experimental audiovisual beats and bass music. With his Syndicate crew. He's the founder of Syndicate as well. So now that he's ready to unleash his first proper document in 4 years, and we're all very excited about it, and we're gonna talk about it. So what do you think about it then?
Okay, going into Ataraxia, I have to admit, like, it's been a long time since I listened to The Inner Galaxy. So I was just going in with no expectations at all, and listening to the whole album, I feel that even though while a lot of tracks were very well produced, it didn't feel like a whole cohesive album as well. I'm not sure he had much of a concept behind, like, you know, each track's titles or like even the album's title also, but there were some tracks, you know, they were totally in your face, you know. There was a track like with Mean, for example, and then there were a lot of tracks which were very dreamy, very floaty, you know, and I can tell there's like a huge like dub influence on this album. So
well, I mean, it's Kiat, he's bound to have a dub influence.
But like even on like the slower tracks, you can definitely tell, like, you know, it's very druggy, very hypnotic. Problem is that like the flow just gets interrupted once in a while, so like there isn't really like a very neat full listening experience. But when I listen to these tracks one by one, he actually does a really good job.
Yeah, they're great tracks. I think like I share a similar issue with I think maybe track positioning.
Yes,
like
that's
where
right.
like he puts the tracks, but the tracks by themselves are really good. And I think the biggest difference this is from The Inner Galaxy is that The Inner Galaxy was kind of influenced by his early electronic influences, like, you know, drum and bass stuff, and this is him trying to be a bit more experimental and artistic in his compositions. It's also a very star-studded album. It features Mean, as you mentioned, from the XOXO collective. His syndicate mates Intriguant, Jason Tan, Cherry Chan, also his wife. A Belfast-based drum and bass producer named Difasic, and a British electronic musician named Blue Daisy, who has a surprising turn on vocals on his track. So that's very interesting. So I like Kiat's evolution for it. My personal favorite track is track number 6 called In a Path, as well as the track called Tapes, which I mentioned features Blue Daisy on vocals. The track with Cherry Chan and Jason Tan, objectively to me, is the best of the bunch because I like the slow burning eeriness of it. Yeah, but like time for a bit of non-objectivity. Like the thing that I really, after like talking up his evolution and this is artistic, like, you know, blah blah blah. The thing that really like got me geeked out was actually like one of the older school drum and bass rollers with Difasic called Silver VIP. So this is Kiat at his like with his signature sound, trademark. Kiat and Difasic. I'm also a huge fan of Difasic. Like he's one of the best local drum and bass producers I've ever met. He used to go to his shows at Home Club all the time. He has since moved to Belfast to study oncology and pathology, so he's a cancer doctor now.
Wow.
Doing more important things.
Man.
But I'm glad to see that he's still doing drum and bass, and his inclusion in this particular album has been like quite a surprise and a highlight to me.
But let's just say that we'll talk about like casual listeners when listen to it. Do you think they will actually get into this album, or would you think there are better entry points into Kiat's discography?
I think yes, you're right. There are better entry points into Kiat's discography, but I think that this is his most accessible album for this day and age because this is like a singles-based market.
For sure.
Where like nobody ever sits down to listen to like his, how many tracks does he have?
It's like 9, 10
tracks. So that's not gonna happen. So they're gonna watch his music video. They're gonna watch second, third single. So that'll be great lah. I think it's fine.
How would you rate it then?
I'm rating it. I'm rating it at 7.5 out of 10.
7.5?
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10. For me, for Kiat, like I really appreciate that in terms of his sound, he doesn't give he doesn't give away too many like obvious nods to what's going on in electronic music. He's obviously doing his own thing. At the same time, I kind of wish that it was a better album as a whole, but I really enjoyed the track still.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and as I mentioned, the single is out this week, and the album will be out next week via Syndicate. Check it.
Okay, and the second album we'll be talking about is the live album called Prana by musician Andy Chia, also known as Andy Chia.
Yeah.
So Andy Chia is actually 1/3 of music collective SA.
Yeah,
So
Sa
or
Trio.
Sa Trio. Yeah. So Andy
Who've also just released an album earlier this week. A very good album, by the way, also called Flow. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a busy week for Andy Chia. It's
Exactly,
releasing an album of his band,
yeah,
releasing a solo album, but we'll be talking about his solo album today.
For sure, yeah. For Andy Chia, like he's been like playing a lot of like traditional instruments, especially he plays the flute.
Yeah.
So
the Chinese flute is called the DZ. Yeah.
The DZ.
The DZ.
So, so for this album called Prana, you know, it's totally, you know, improvisational. He plays with Ayase, the pianist, and Dharma, the guitarist.
Who will also be at his album launch.
Yes. So Dharma used to be a member of the Observatory, and Ayase is a reputed jazz pianist in Singapore. Singapore. But yeah, she's from Japan, right?
She's from Japan. Yeah.
So the album is basically just a recording of a concert that they did in Japan earlier this year.
Yeah.
And just let me know what you think.
Yeah. As Dan has mentioned, it's a live recording. That's why it's called Live in Japan, Prana. I really like this. I think his intention was to kind of take me out of my physical space and into my subconscious. And I listened to this album like on a train, on an MRT.
Any astral projection?
No, but I
Close enough.
I lost myself in it to the point where I forgot like my surroundings, and I listened to all of my music on public transport lah. So I need something to take me out of it, and this one did. I really enjoyed his improvisational take on the DZ and all the little things that he did. It was great. What do you think about it?
This album was off the DZ, but but there was actually like some of these moments in the album where I felt he was using the flute as in the DZ, and he was like, it sounded like he was like spitting out rhythms. Yeah. So it kind of felt as if like, you know, like a DJ could sample that, but at the same time, like listening to that, it was almost like listening to him beatboxing with his flute, which was quite interesting.
He uses a lot of like interesting vocal techniques, like throat singing and whistling. I think that's what you're talking about.
Exactly. So like the way it sounds, especially when you're not coming into with much context, it sounds really interesting, and the way he interplays with like, you know, Dharma soundscapes or like Ayase. Ayase is especially haunting in this album because there will be certain moments where, you know, her piano lines are very serene, suddenly it's very unsettling. It's like kind of listening to like the Twin Peaks score. Right. So it's really cool. Like, you know, the entire atmosphere of the album is very intoxicating, and it's, like you said, like, you know, you listen to it, you can easily get yourself lost into it. At the same time, it can blend into the background easily. So like, you know, there are these moments which will stick out to you. At the same time, it can help to set the environment. So it's a very malleable, very diverse album in that aspect, I guess. Yeah, and like it's not really hard to get into, just as long as like you don't come in with any expectations and just play it and just let the music just.
It's a little hard to pigeonhole like what kind of genre this is. This is interesting. Sure. Like Prana actually means it's a Sanskrit word for, I think, breathing in and out. Breathing, living, life force. Exhaling and all of that. Like it's supposed to take you out of your like state of consciousness, and I think that this is what it does.
I mean, soundtrack fans are probably like this, but there aren't any recognizable motifs in the album, but he has like a bit of like Singaporean ethnic sensibilities there. There's like Chinese, Malay, Tamil kind of stuff. But it's all done by like a modern voice and context, which is what the Sa Trio does as well. This is what they do really well. The manipulation of sounds through electronic effects is also something that it does, so there's a modern context to it. The vocal techniques, as Dan has mentioned, and the use, I think he even used like a homemade didgeridoo at one point, which is insane. Really crazy, man. How would you rate this then? So like, this is tough because this is all like improvised interpretations, and I enjoyed it. But at the same time, it's difficult to recommend to a casual. Well, if you're practicing yoga, this will probably help. I think I'm gonna go for a 7 out of 10 for this one. I think I'm probably gonna give it a 7 out of 10 because just the entire experience is very unique, and I can't really get out of this from what I get from like a, you know, let's just say like a typical soundtrack like we were talking about. So I don't know whether you like it, but me and Dan enjoyed it a lot. If you would like to check this out, I think checking this out live would be the best way to kind of get yourself immersed in it. And he's launching his album at Artistry on the 16th of June, so check that out. Dharma and Ayase will be there as well. And the final record that we'll be talking about today is one by an up-and-coming darker than wax artist named Miki Rose.
From what we've heard, she's actually based in LA, but she's actually like kind of a child of the world. She's lived in like Boston,
Malaysia, right?
Kuala Lumpur, Texas, a bunch of different places, Paris. But she actually like got her music education in the Berklee College of Music, where that's where I think she formed her neo soul influences, from like Erykah Badu and D'Angelo are stated influences for her, which is very cool. So just to give you a bit of background on her, she did a couple of residencies in LA, just wasn't happy with it, got disillusioned. Then she went on an electronic dip, I guess, which is how she met up some producers and she crossed paths with Darker Than Wax, and that's how she got onto their roster. Which is very interesting. Like Darker Than Wax actually has a huge roster overseas, everywhere from like New York to the Netherlands to New Zealand. They have a bunch of people, and Miki Rose is just the latest of their conquests, I guess. The EP is called XOXO. Yeah. Sorry.
Why, was there like something else you wanted to say?
No, I wanted to make a Gossip Girl joke, but never mind.
Okay. I was thinking Abalone, but
also can. Yeah. So what do you think of this album?
Well, frankly, I mean, like, there is so much coming out of like this new strain of electronic and R&B music in terms of like the female fronted kind of music. So I guess like it's sad to say this doesn't really stand out, but still a very enjoyable listen, and I feel that her voice will probably even shine even more of a live band instead. I don't know if you agree lah, but like listening to her with electronic production is good. Production is great. FZBC does an incredible job with like special and replay. So and especially considering like with the other producers on, he holds up really well. It's just that like listening to her voice, I was wondering like how much more like fleshed out can a voice be when with a live band, especially when Erykah Badu started doing like live band, the new America albums as well. So I was like wondering, like this could be the stepping stone, see where she'll go after this, kind of like NOYs or so. So there is a very spiritual element to her voice, which obviously like looking at influences like D'Angelo and Erykah Badu, you can definitely tell by that. So there is a lot more that I can see from her. It's just that I guess this EP only shows kind of like just a small glimpse. Yeah, but what do you think?
This is an introductory EP. I actually think that like to us maybe like we want to hear what she sounds like with a band, but like considering like her background, she actually came from formal training, which the sort of kind of reminds me of Kalila a bit, because she's from like a formal background and she discovered producers, and I think once you go down that route and you hear that your voice in that context, it's kind of an epiphany, and like, I think this is the direction that she'll be going in. And considering the modern context of music also, it's probably like wise to go down this direction.
For sure.
Yeah, her voice is very pristine, and like hearing it with like left field electronic producers, it's great lah. The producers that they got for this is actually a who's who of the Darker Than Wax roster. Like as he mentioned, ZPZ on a couple of tracks. A dude called Giorgio Eulers from the Netherlands. Eulers. And Caillou from the Netherlands. Silo from Belgium. They're all Darker Than Wax producers, and they all have their releases on Darker Than Wax. So check them out individually. In this case, they're like sparkling instrumentals. Present a microcosm of the Darker Than Wax sound, and also like form the bedrock of how Miki Rose chooses to express her voice. It works most of the time, sometimes it doesn't. I think like it's like soulful, full of synth, and like irrepressibly swung, which is very Darker Than Wax. So I think it's very easy to get into, and it's a very technically sound album. She expresses like a full range of intention and emotion. It's expressed beautifully here through her voice and her driving verses. That being said, like as stellar as the record is, it doesn't get as distinctive as it should be. Yeah. And
like we're only listening to what she could do, as in like just a small glimpse of what she could do right now. Like, if anything, like I am interested to see what she would do.
Exactly, and this is just like a freshman EP, so we'll see what she's coming up next. I am impressed by her voice.
So I'm gonna give it a 7.10. So far her voice is really good. She did a pretty good job with, I guess, a competent job with the producers. Producers did a stellar job with the production. I guess, not completely satisfied with the whole product, but still enjoyable.
I think this is a worthwhile album to check out. It will be I think I'll give this like a 7 out of 10 as well. Her first single will be out on 16 June, and the album will be out for pre-order then as well, but it won't be out till July, so hold your horses. And
that's it for today's Triple R. If you have any albums that you'd like us to review, just let us know in the comments section down below, or you can email us at editorial@bandwagon.sg, and don't forget to subscribe.
Peace.
It's more than just having a good voice, you need to feel his voice, and I think that's what Spice Girls say, for example, right? So All Saints had it at that time, and like